Hey, it's Dorr, Coach with Tactical Hyve, and in today's video, we're going to be covering boots. All right, boot world, boots on the ground, whatever you want to call it. It's all about what we wore during our careers. So stay tuned.
All right, this video is brought to you by TacPack. They're a subscription-based company that sends you a box of tactical, EDC, and survival gear every month. Check out the website and link below, and use the promo code TACHIVE, and you'll receive a bonus USA-made AR accessory worth at least $75. Now, back to the video. All right, so today we're going to talk to you a little bit about the boots, the footwear that we wore through my career and then on through Dorr's.
So starting things off, we'd like to start from the beginning, which for us is Vietnam conflict, because that was the beginning of modern warfare.
And the beginning of the SEAL teams, honestly, because
really.
The first guys that went over to Vietnam had the old all leather boot with just a regular, tread, which did not work in Vietnam very well, right? So.
Not enough.
Yeah. Anyway, so they got these hot weather, purpose-made jungle boots, came out in 1966. And they've got the Panama sole, which squishes mud out so you can actually get some traction. They got little vents here to vent out the water that's gonna get into your boot. And they even had this steel shank in here, specifically for protection against, punji sticks and things that, the booby traps that the enemy was putting out there. So it was a really good boot, and hell, it lasted over 30 years. I mean, we were wearing something like this, until the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, this was standard issue for everybody, but there wasn't a lot of purpose-built equipment for specific units at that time. You just kind of had to pick and choose what was available and then fabricate from there. So this was by far the most common boot worn by our guys, but it had some drawbacks. Okay, they're big, they're clunky, they get stuck in the mud. When you pull your foot out of the mud, it would make a sucking sound, which sucks because you're trying to be quiet.
Uncomfortable as hell, but honestly, you didn't get a lot of shin splints because you had to run correctly in these. If you dug your heel in, you knew it, it hurt. So you stopped doing that. I think that the Dr. Scholl's or the tennis shoe insoles were the only things that were authorized modifications. But I was never really a good runner. And I figured, oh man, if those boots were just a little bit lighter. So about half a dozen of us got together when there was a shoe store in Coronado that they would cut this off of here, right? And they actually called it the Bud Special. They cut off this sole and they put a running sole on there. And it made them so light and so nice. And I got to wear them one time, and it was a soft sand run. Failed the damn run, but most of the class did anyway. It was one of those kind of setups. And so one of the instructors noticed our tracks. They're a little bit different than everybody else's. And he went around and found everybody who's getting, in the middle of that torture session, and he singled out each one of us and just burned us down for another hour after everybody else got to knock off. So, yeah. I paid for them and only got to wear them once, failed the damn thing anyways.
So there were alternatives. UDT Frogmen, all SEALs were Frogmen first in those days, and they got issued the Coral Booties.
Yeah,
and
Coral Booties.
Yeah, which were kind of a hybrid between a boot and a Converse and a slipper. I don't know. I've never actually seen a pair except from behind glass. They stopped issuing those long before I came around. But Coach has some actual experience with said name booty of.
I got issued those damn things, and I think I wore them once. And my feet are big, wide things, and the Coral Booties were real narrow. And if you had narrow feet, guys loved them. They wore them all the time. They're basically so that you could wear them in your fin, so that if you were, stepped on some coral or coming across the beach, you weren't gonna chop up your feet, which is a real deal. It'll you become a casualty before you even, get over the beach. So anyway, it was a good boot if it fit you, but it didn't fit me, so I didn't keep them. They got chucked out a long time ago. But What you could do is go to the exchange and buy you some good old Chuck Taylors, because these things were almost as good. They got a nice big wide, toe box in there for you, and that's what most of the time I was running around any kind of water work, I'd use these.
And if this wasn't enough customization, there were often times over there where guys would wear locally sourced like Ho Chi Minh sandals, which were made out of like old tires, just trying to blend in as far as leaving footprints. And if that wasn't enough, guys literally went on ops barefoot, like completely just hike up their pants Huck Finn style and just go for it.
Yeah.
And
hoping for soft mud.
Yeah, hoping for soft mud, man. I don't know if I could swing that. I think I'd have to bring a, at least have something hanging off, some kind of shoe. But hey,
they made it than us.
Yeah, it was a different generation. Those guys were hard-headed, hard drinking, and apparently hard feet. So, yeah. Alrighty.
Okay, so next, what are those boots?
Yeah. All right. So, my own personal experience with jungle boots. Yeah, we got issued them in third phase. They were a garrison boot, but they were also an operational boot. As far as buds call that operational. But so when I got to the team, I found this thing called a dermobin. What does dermobin stand for?
It's defense
Doesn't matter.
realization.
Doesn't matter.
Blah, blah, blah. It was the garbage.
Yeah, basically what it is, it's one of those large like rolling laundry hampers that like a cleaning lady would use at a hotel, or you would hopefully utilize to escape from prison. And guys would just throw gear in there that they didn't want anymore. So being a brand new guy, like who doesn't know anything about anything, I started going through this, and that's actually where I found this bad boy that people like to hit me up on in the comments. This one's made by Eagle. We've used this in previous videos, but on that very same day, I found a pair of brand new jungle boots that had these awesome, like aftermarket Vibram soles. So these became my go-to, super comfy. You could work out in them. They were better for running. Fast forward to my first deployment, and we were in the Euphrates River Valley, Sunni Triangle area, and it was affectionately dubbed the Nam. And so anyway, I would go out, and I was either a comm guy or an A-dub, so you're carrying a lot of stuff. And I would wear these on ops, and not the deal. It was muddy. There were irrigation ditches. There was stuff you had to go, pump houses you had to go into, climb over walls. And these got very slick, very fast. I didn't bring a pair of standard ones on that deployment because I had my Gucci Cool Guy ones. So I ended up just switching back to a pair of Desert Jungles that had the Panama sole, because that stuff, it actually does work. So yeah, these were great for, the street. These were great for the beach. But if you are going to be in actual muddy conditions, going with the full tread I highly recommend.
Yeah, first part of my career, my first 4 deployments was pre-war. And, in the Western Pacific, there's a lot of jungle. And dude, we lived in these. This was like everything you did with these. So now when I first checked into SEAL Team 5, old half-ass McCarthy said, hey, you better get you some of these new cool boots that we got. They break in really good. Half-ass was an old Vietnam guy, so you listen to what half-ass said. So I got these. They're really good for hiking around in temperate zones or when it gets a little cold. They break in really good and they last forever. I mean, these are probably 20 years old. And they're just a damn good boot. A little heavier, but they got that waffle sole on there, which works great in anything but mud. Now, you got a pair of these at some point.
Oh, yeah. Right? So again, third phase, 1 class a year, the winter class got issued these. Now, I'd never seen Danners before. I grew up with Sorels, but that's a different story for a different day. And the Danners, they have these plastic inserts in them to help keep the form of the boot. Well, to me, they looked like they belonged in there. So I rocked the boots for the first day with those plastic inserts still in them. And I was like, my toes are comfy, but the back of my feet are very uncomfortable. And by first day, we're in the mountains doing land nav, fam. I figured out that if you take those plastic inserts out,
a lot more comfortable. So around about when the first Gulf War kicked off, all of a sudden we needed a bunch of desert stuff, right? So they just went straight in and basically copied the jungle boot and just made it a little more deserty, okay? So it was lighter in color, Same basic material. You couldn't shine it. Some suede leather, and there was no pungy protection steel shank in the base. And again, some guys love these things, and they worked great for them. Me, I could never find a pair that gave me any kind of ankle support, so I just never wore them. That happened to enough guys that they looked around and said, "Hey, we need something else." So that's when they bought us these. Again, we went to Danner, good quality company. These low cut desert ones, but they're Gore-Tex, and they're sturdy enough sole. You can walk on rocks all day. There wasn't the selection of footwear you have these days, so this was probably the best thing to wear in Kuwait, Iraq, and all that.
The desert jungles. I know that doesn't make sense, but that is what they were called. I don't know what else to call them, so we're going to stick with it. But yeah, they took the jungle boot. I guess they pulled the steel shank out for protection, which made them a little bit lighter. But you didn't get these until you actually got to a team. When we did our month-long desert training in SQT, we were still wearing either jungle boots or baits, or guys would go out and buy their own shoes. I couldn't afford that. So I, in an attempt to keep my feet cooler, literally spray painted my black baits tan. I'm not kidding. And it actually worked. Like, they were not as hot and horrid.
Yeah.
But then, once you graduate, you get to the team, now you're cool. You got issued these. And I had no problem with them. They gave you a couple of pairs of them. The idea was garrison with a desert uniform and then anything operational. They were great for breaching, really anything maritime. I never saw anybody roll their ankle or get hurt with these, but eventually they were deemed old-fashioned and not tacti cool enough. So moving on.
Like moved on.
So then I rolled out to SEAL Team 6, green team. Everybody was running around with these, the GSG9s. Adidas, they were an awesome boot. When we first got these, it was like, oh my God, they break in immediately. You didn't have to worry about anything, break-in periods or soaking them or anything like that. They just worked right out of the box. They were like wearing a damn tennis shoe, which pretty much what they were, Adidas. They got the nubby sole right here, which was good. I mean, it's a salt boot. We were basically running around, doing house runs and jumping, and we did everything in these except when it got really, really cold, we'd have cold weather boots. But for everything else, we used these damn things. They worked really good for a long time. What we found is after many years of being in storage, this insole part here just falls apart. It turns to goo. It's like Play-Doh. So unlike these, which are 30 years old, and hell, when if I ever wore the damn soles off of these things, I could just have them resoled and keep going. These, not so much.
Mm-hmm. These are actually my boots. I got issued these not long after I got to the team, but they were no longer being purchased. They'd been replaced, but they just happened to have them in my size, so I got a pair. Oof.
Put it back.
Look at this. I've worn these things in like 10 years.
That's what
happens. The most use I got out of these was actually motorcycle boots, because you had to have boots on to drive on and off base. But they had already been replaced. They'd been replaced with these bad boys. All right. So when I got to the team in the early mid 2000s, anybody who was anybody, as far as we were all concerned, were rocking the Oakley assault boots. These came in tan and black. You got a pair of each. And they had completely replaced these, which I don't know if these ever even came in tan.
I never saw them.
I never saw them in tan either.
Yeah, so it's a salt boot, man.
Yeah. So these had already become kind of obsolete, though they were still cool. And everybody was running these. These were the boots of the mid 2000s. But they held up pretty well. I still have a pair of these. Ones are Coach's. The black pair I use as jump boots, and I lost that pair of bag a long time ago with everything. My helmet.
Those are my motorcycle boots.
Yeah, everything. But yeah, these were definitely a big deal. Did you wear these overseas, or kind of you got these right as they were?
These came in pretty much after I got back from my last deployment. so I think I got mine right as we got back from Iraq, from the invasion. That's about the time I got issued these, but prior to that, because the desert jungles didn't work for everybody, we went and shopped around. We did like a team buy, and you know pretty much everybody on Gold Team was rolling around in these Merrill ventilators, man, and they work really good. Nice, when it's hot out, all this mesh right here breathes. It's great. They have decent support, and not the best traction, but we weren't too worried about that at the time. So this was a good boot for hot weather. About that time, though, my ankles started taking heavies. So I would actually wear ankle braces on both feet, just to keep everything, keep me from rolling my ankle on an op. And then I came back and I found these good old Danners, and these were the best thing I put on my feet. I wore these the second half of my deployment to Afghanistan, and this is what I invaded Iraq in. So it had enough, the toe box was big enough, there was enough support. I could just strap those suckers down and my ankles were safe. And they're not black, they're breathable. They're just a really good boot. All this Gore-Tex in here, kept the air free flowing. And so that was my, it's probably my favorite combat boots right here. Good old Danner, I think they're Elkhorns or something, but yeah, they worked awesome. So the open purchase is where the best footwear started showing up. So, we went from these onto, more Doors era here. Yeah. I was done operating with these. So, your experience with the open purchase boots.
Yeah, as far as earlier on, I dealt with the same types of boots, brands like Danner, Merrill. There's one called the Sawtooth. I don't know who made it. I had a pair of those as well. But by the end of the 2000s, around the time we met, that is when a ski binding company by the way of Solomon entered the tactical game, and they completely took over. Call me a fanboy, call me whatever you want, but I got issued my first pair of these in I think about 2008.
Yeah, it's about.
And I've been wearing Solomon's pretty much exclusively ever since. There, with some exceptions. These are the mid cut. I've worn several pairs of these all the way through to their grave. These officially replaced the Oakley assault boot, which had replaced the GSG9. As far as I know, this is more or less what guys are still wearing. Though
so these were in the system, they weren't open purchases at that point?
These were, it's kind of, I don't buy them with my own money, let's be clear. But as far as how high up the program is, I don't think it's very high. I think it's more unit level, troop to team level purchases. It gets really weird and muck up at the very top program level.
You're not wearing these in garrison, uniform.
No, guys do, let's be clear, but they shouldn't. But I didn't have the heart to say anything, which is, saying a lot. Anyway, these are the black ones. They also come in tan. Probably the most popular are the low tops, to a fault, actually, because once these kind of took over and became the shoe, the younger generation didn't understand why militaries had been wearing boots for so long. Back in the Roman days, you could get away with sandals because you had a sword, you had a spear, and you had some leather, body armor, if you could even call it that. But now, not so much. Now you've got, 25 to 75 pounds of gear on. And when you're in a kill house or you're on a range and it's nice and flat, you can get away with a lot. You can wear these, but as soon as you go into land warfare or like a South Mountain environment where you're running up and down stairs, you're in terrain, you're climbing over walls, you're, climbing through windows, etc. This is not enough. Okay, this is not enough. It got so bad, the foot injuries, that leadership had to mandate that guys wear boots during certain blocks of training. So, there's a time and a place for these. There's also a time and a place to step it up a notch. And then these are kind of the level 3s. Truth be told, I never really wore these much, more of a solo guy. These, I've had a couple pairs of these, also open purchase. But again, different body types, different feet, different missions. You really got to figure out, what works for you. But this is not going to cover it when you're doing the high speed stuff.
They are comfortable though.
Very comfortable.
They're so we'd you wear them all the time. But see, the actual ankle bones aren't covered with those,
No.
so you can get just a little ding that wouldn't hurt you if you're wearing, say, I don't know, something like this that's actually got some padding to keep your ankle from getting dinged, or go a little bit higher up. Now you actually have some ankle support. So shoes have their place, and there's a lot of specialty stuff that we do, whether it's cold weather or OTB, and OTBs, that's the big one.
And once you start getting up into these, these are legitimate hiking boots, and like the Asolos, they have these
speed hooks, I think.
Yeah, speed hooks, and they can be a problem when it comes to jumping. You'd have to tape these up. If the jump master saw those, it'd be a no-go. But with a little tape.
If you open your parachute and you're a bag of trash and a shroud line hooks into one of those, you're done.
Yeah.
So, throw some tape on.
Yeah, throw some tape on them. But all in all, good boots. Not great for getting wet.
Yeah, they're like sponges.
That's up next. All right, so keeping with foot injuries, and we want to talk to you guys about, definitely the do's, but obviously the don'ts as well. You're running around in a 360, 720 environment, you're climbing through windows, over walls, jumping off of walls. This is not enough, okay? A lot of foot injuries out in terrain as well as in urban environments. The same goes for going over the beach or taking down a ship. Oftentimes in training, it's all about iteration. It's all about reps, reps, reps. And when you're doing that, you don't have a realistic amount of weight on your person. You don't have your real plates, your comms, real ammo, breaching equipment. And so if you're just wearing traditional wetsuit dive booties, you can get away with a lot. But once you go into a higher level of training, or God forbid you do it for real, you're going to have all that real world stuff on you. And you got to have actual boots on.
You're always heavier when it really goes down than when you're training. You'll end up carrying more weight. It just happens.
So these are purpose-built OTB boots. They lace up and feel just like a regular boot, but they're made out of neoprene material. They have drain holes. You could get away with a lot with something like this. But if you only have, a more traditional dive wetsuit booty, again, make sure that you're not overdoing it.
Yeah, for a short duration, these work great. You come across the beach, this will get you over the rocks and up into the hinterland. But when you get up there, you're taking these off and you're putting on something else if you've got to hump any distance. Yeah.
And if you, I don't know how much the things cost, but if you didn't want to break the bank, or, these something purpose-built like this aren't an option, going back to the Converse, the Chuck Taylors, guys still prefer and use those to this day. To get issued these, they're great, but if you had to transition into dry clothes, dry boots, now you got to lug these around in your backpack. That's not the deal. These are much better. They collapse, they dry out faster, they weigh less. And as long as the water isn't freezing cold, with a simple neoprene sock, you could get away with wearing these for quite a while.
So the boots you get in buds, we started out with these bad boys here. We already talked about them and their pluses and minuses. And then now guys are getting issued something more like this, which is it's real similar to the product, the end product that I got my ass kicked for. They're nice and light. They're really good. This is the last pair, and I think these are the ones that they were issuing right now. And they're Nikes. They're really light, minimalist boot. Really good for working out in.
Yeah, so when I went through buds, we had the Bates, which were like an all black purpose-built, I think for buds boot. They're better than jungle boots, but they had good ankle support. They had good cushion. The Nikes, they came out when I was a buds instructor. We started wearing them. They're definitely more lightweight, but they don't have as much support as the old Bates do. At some point, they stopped issuing Bates altogether. I don't have a set of them anymore. But the students are now running these. Who makes these? And these are all Nike. Everything's Nike now.
Yeah.
Other reasons for boots. These are not the exact pair, but I did have an all black pair of jungle boots. Wasn't a fan of the all black, but they were brand new. So I actually took them to that very same boot shop in Coronado and had them, I pulled the laces out of them, had them professionally polished, put the laces back in, and had them ready to go in my locker. Just in case there was a misunderstanding and I needed to go talk to like my boss's boss's boss about, so I could clarify what really happened, no harm, no foul. So, and I did. I actually got to wear them once. I got to go
Only once.
Yeah, I got to go
Surprising.
upstairs in a fresh haircut, fresh camis, and a brand new, fresh set of boots.
Do a lot of this.
Yes. A lot of agreeing with whatever they were saying. Look at the boots. You let your boots do your talking. All right. Whatever happened, happened. Okay. It gets weird out there, but you show up to your board with a fresh, glistening pair of these bad boys. And
Definitely points in your
I mean, what are we talking about here? What are we even talking about? We talking about the boots right now? Because that's what they want to be talking about. You just let your boots do your talking. I had a chief, Jay Bell, who definitely got in a lot of trouble when he was younger. So he had like a system down for when I would get in trouble, and it really helped. They didn't kick me out. Going back more to not hurting yourself, I actually have a funny story. We got issued these Loa boots, which are phenomenal. We were out in the desert in August here in Southern California, and it was well over 120 any given day. And I had not one, but two pairs of boots fail on my feet. Like it was so hot and these boots were out in the heat for so long that they just started coming apart at the seams. One pair actually came, the freaking whole bottom sole, much like this, but it was a different pair of boots, civilian hiking boots. We were doing a land nav course. We were actually working with the Rangers. They're real big on land nav. So they set up this land nav course. We were doing it and the boots literally melted off my feet while I was walking. And we had to call them over with their side-by-side and give me a ride back. So anyway, after those two pairs of boots failed on that same trip, we had a guy going back to the Strand for an unrelated issue. I had him go into my locker and grab a brand new pair of these right out of the box. And I'm telling you, I don't have any, I'm not, official sponsorship or affiliation with Loa, but these are really, really good boots. They're extremely comfortable. They're very robust, and they do everything you need them to do. Are you going to make the podium in a tacti-cool beauty pageant? Probably not. Probably not. And if that's your thing, okay. These are more your speed, but the guys that wear these, myself included, never had a problem. Like I really, really like these. And if I was going to go with one boot to do it all, it would be these.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I wear these days.
Yeah,
And
they're really phenomenal.
I've got them. That's my working pair right now, and then I got a new pair. And every few years you just buy another pair. And I still have the old ones that they're about ready to fall apart. They're not quite as bad as the GSG9s, but they last a good long time. They got a good support. There's really no downside. So Loa, good job, man.
Though these will not get you on the podium for the tactical beauty pageant, they actually, at least for us, pass muster for wearing a Garrison. Guys wear these in their name tape camis, and I've never seen anybody get a sideways look or have a problem with it. So little added function there. They are comfy.
Pluses.
Speaking of comfy, I gotta give props to my Bellevilles. During one of my deployments, it was a requirement that we look like the conventional unit in that area. And so they issued us, the Marines, issued us a suite of like everything they get issued. And the jewel of the collection were these Belleville boots. But they issued us all that stuff, but our boots, seeing as we were dirty, nasty squids, we were not worthy of the Eagle Globe and Anchor.
EGA, not
So
worthy.
somehow they were able to acquire enough pairs of boots for us that didn't have, because all of the Marines, they all have their emblem on the boot, which is awesome. But yeah, it was pretty cool that they were able to not give us
Sterile
like,
one.
all right, we'll give we'll give you what we have to give you, but you're not getting the Eagle Club Anchor. All right? You didn't earn it. Squid.
Exactly.
I don't see any ocean out here. What are you even doing here? Like, I don't know. Sorry. But anyway, got issued these. But what makes these awesome is how warm and comfy they are. They're like pillows on your feet. Like you put these on and you just feel more relaxed. And so if I'm out there in the elements, in a damp environment, these are definitely my go-tos. These are, I think, still standard issue in the Marine Corps. Not sure. They're heavy, for running and things like that, but it builds character. But I just thought I'd let you know, if you're going to be in that kind of cold, wet environment, definitely a Belleville is something to take a look at. All right, guys. So this is just kind of a quick down and dirty, hitting the wave tops, if you will, of just the boots, the shoes, the footwear, the what have you of what we used and why. There's no one solution that's going to get you through it all. But if you can narrow it down to exactly what works for you, that's a big start. And then from there, you can make those selections. I hope our experiences help you guys out. You got to be comfortable. Your feet, you got to take care of your feet. You're going to be on them all day. They do not heal as fast as they should, or I can definitely tell you that for sure. So plan ahead, and if what works well in one environment, don't try to force it into another, because I've already done that and it does not work well.
Yeah, it's footwear is way more important than you would think, because if you choose right, your day's a whole lot nicer. You choose poorly, and you're going to pay. So, or whether you want to go for something really, really light and you can get away with it, light is always right. And then something like this is good all around, but if you're going to go hiking over rough terrain, you need something with a decent sole, even if it weighs a little bit more. But make sure it fits and make sure it's broken in. And that'll your mileage may vary, but the mileage adds up, right? Anyway, if you like this content, like, subscribe, leave us some comments.